get it.
Here we go. I think we're good over here.
Let's get it.
Technical difficulties.
What's up, everybody?
Okay. We good? What's up, everybody? All right, we're good.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of feedback, dog.
No, that's all right. I turned it off. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Episode 10 here of I Am the One Son, or Sundays with I Am the One Son. I quit saying that. And we're talking about the elusive, ever so prevalent AI conversation. DM. Welcome. And let's just get our stuff adjusted here, make sure that we're all good. And I'll introduce my guest over here. Or our guest.
Just so you know, your voice is kind of doubling. Brother, hang on for a minute.
Is that on your end? Because it's not doubling on the playback.
Yeah, let me go and check something. Let's try it now. Go ahead and say something.
La. What about now?
La.
Nothing?
No, we're good now. We're good now.
All right.
Okay, cool.
All right.
That's what's up.
Okay, so welcome everybody. So this is the conversation that is been the conversation for the last few years here, and it's going to remain the conversation as the situation develops. And we thought we'd bring that conversation in here because we got a couple unique perspectives over here, and I'm going to do something that I don't do very often, and I'm going to keep quiet for the majority of this conversation. One of the things here is that from this side of the perspective, the AI conversation is more related to music and how it pertains to production and the way that it fits into the musical side of things. But there's also the human element, and then there's also the average working day person and how this affects everything. So over here, we have musician. I'm really kind of not anti-AI, but I'm against using it as a replacement for doing music. More specifically, when it comes to mixing and mastering, I think it's shameful that the industry is trying to even propose the idea of AI mixing and mastering, well, mostly mastering, rather than teach people proper technique. But we'll get into that shortly.
Absolutely shameful.
We have I Am the One Son here, who is all over the space of this AI here. So if you want to explain to the good people here some of the work that you've been doing and your side of things that are of no relation or little to the music and the production of how things are done.
Yeah.
You're out here on in these streets out here.
Like
on the grind in the
said,
field.
the episode that we're on right now, the rise of the machines. So yes, AI, artificial intelligence.
Hit us with it.
It is a technology that is both admired right now and feared. It is a technology that has been long in the making. It was dreamed of long ago. We're talking probably the 1940s. It was made as a vision for the future. Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry, 1966. I'm not saying he's the first, but he's probably the first that popularized the very idea with the USS Enterprise, the starship, and the computer was speaking to Captain Kirk. That is my earliest memory as a child. I was fascinated by that, and I also got a tour of an IBM facility from a family member that worked at IBM when I was a child. And I have ever since been hooked on technology, and I've remained curious for over 40 years in my life and as a software engineer now. So yes, AI is a big deal. I think we can come back to it, Raul, because I would definitely like to have you speak on the ways in which you're seeing it used in music. And then I can probably address some of the things that cause people fear and trepidation, and kind of gaining like a little bit better understanding of what it is and where it's at. For this part, AI for the everyday consumer is nothing more than a useful tool, but there are things that you probably should know that are happening in the background as it pertains to some of the companies that are producing these different products or models, as they're called. So here it is, back at you.
This whole thing sounds nefarious as hell. So here's the deal. Like I said, it's been in the conversation the past couple of years, especially when it comes to the audio production side of things. Mm-hmm. It's been a couple of years since we've owned Melody Sauce. Melody Sauce is an AI generated production tool. It generates melodies, very specific, and it's getting better, I guess. We revisited it like last year or something like that. But the big thing this year, mostly as of recent, has been the AI mastering. And the AI mastering, from somebody who takes great pleasure in mixing and mastering, and I may not be the most schooled or skilled when it comes down to it, but I know enough to understand the potential, I would say, dangers in having people just forego that element of understanding for the sake of having the AI do it. It is a very calculated thing when it comes to mathematical equations and stuff like that. However, the abstract objectivity of the human ear to discern things that a robot, computer program, AI, etc. can't, it is not at a point or even close to a position to be able to leave it up to the AI. And AI mastering in the mastering department of audio production has been a thing since I was in college. And you're talking 2008, So even though it wasn't a prevalent technology that was widely used, I was using Logic 8, and Logic 8 did not have any kind of whatever in it as far as like official AI, but it had an AI in it that had preloaded templates that were developed by somebody who fed in the very same concept as the way that the AI is developed.
Right.
So they had that type of procedural thing in music for quite some time now. It's just gotten to the point to where the humans haven't relinquished it to the AI, but they're starting to tell the people, the musicians, the producers, and everything, that it is safe to do so. And while it may be safe as far as that goes, we're not talking about a danger here.
Right.
We're not talking about something that is life-threatening, like, oh, well,
But we are talking about something that potentially, threatens jobs. You know what I mean? Like in terms of, engineers being able to, do their craft and make their money in the studios and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Making those tools not only available, with the big corporations, but they're talking about having to some extent, some of the platforms that are out right now already do a lot of that.
Yeah.
They will, mix your tracks. Like even if you have like podcast show stuff, like it'll fix your audio. You have things that will fix, video clips for you automatically. They even have like where for like Spotify or DistroKid or whatever, it'll get all of your music in the right, frequencies and volume levels and things like that to make sure that it's playable on everything.
Yeah.
So do you think there are any benefits to it at all? Or do you feel like you're more so like against the idea of AI even being a part of the industry?
Well, you just named off the benefits, really. I mean, when it comes to audio cleaning and very specific stuff that just takes a quick filter out, like the technology in here is technically an AI, and
Yeah,
it
that's true.
filters out, it does the thing that you're talking about to where, and it being dynamic is even that much more helpful. But like, I'm just a mere few steps away from my refrigerator and it's not quiet and it's right next to me and you guys can't hear the shit. So there's a
Right.
great benefit to having it in certain elements, but when you're talking about taking an entire market and selling it to it's not just a demographic because it's just the audio engineers, and I know a lot of people don't want to touch mastering. People don't like it. People, they find it tedious. They don't understand the ratios or the mathematics or whatever. All stuff that for obvious reasons you're not going to just get to understand within that moment. You're going to have to take some time and learn the skill. You're going to have to take some time and really sit down with understanding it. And if you don't have the time to do that, you outsource it to somebody else.
Right.
So
Right.
now they're trying to get it to, instead of outsourcing to somebody else, you're outsourcing it to something else, and then it comes to the point to where, like you said, it's taking jobs away. And when you're already in a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche, when it comes down to certain things, mastering engineers, like I said before, there's like maybe a dozen world renowned, and then the group under it that are the top elite,
Hmm.
mastering engineers or whatever. You're talking maybe a couple of dozen of them. Like it's a very, very
Right.
small pond. And some people, they learn the techniques on their own just to get by and move forward. And other people, they're just like, screw all that. I'm just going to outsource it. And they understand where their benefit is musically. And I think just, it may not be a dangerous road, but yeah, it messes with the economy. It messes with people's uh, jobs. And when there's already scarcity in this business when it comes to making music, you have to have something to replace that. And if it's not going to be anything that is going to get the person who would normally do that job involved into achieving said work, then where does that person go and what does that person do? And before we get
Right.
into the weeds of it, I think one of the benefits to understanding this conversation and the way that it's going is the fact that with this conversation, people are understanding that, yeah, it's a lot better to have somebody with a discernible ear who understands these things to actually work on it. And it's becoming more sought after to have somebody real do your music. And we'll get into that later in this
Yeah,
conversation. But
definitely.
when it comes to this whole thing here, I'm not necessarily afraid of it. I just don't like it because it's hard enough for people who do this kind of work to find work that's consistent enough to be able to benefit the people who even need the mastering to begin with.
Right.
Taking that away and then not teaching people in replacement to where they're understanding, to where they're just leaving it up to you. You don't know what's good mastering from bad mastering. You just understand what it sounds like in the end. And yes, that's kind of a fine line talking between good mastering and bad mastering, but those differences if you're not the one clicking the button to figure out what the sound sounds like and understanding, yo, this makes my dynamic range go from here to here. I get this stereo width by doing this. This compression ratio makes this sound boost like this, but it takes off these. Understanding these elements are essential to not only music production, but even from the artist standpoint, not just to be able to dictate it, because the artist isn't going to be behind the microphone and be like, take my thing down minus 1.2 decibel on the compression ratio, and they're not going to talk like that, but they are going to be say, hey, if you use a compressor on here, do this, and then you could tuck this way. They'll be able to find some middle ground to communicate that language. And what this is doing here by trying to force this AI technology on us is it's separating that conversation in a point to where these two entities, the mastering engineer and the artist, they really need to be more in a collaborative space, maybe not to the extent to where they're telling each other what to do or how to do it, but enough to be able to not have these questions of inconsistency, because a lot of that has to do with not understanding it from one point to the next and say, well, I don't know if I was charged properly for that work, or I don't know if this is good work, or what's the difference between good work or bad work. There's nothing out there AI wise that's teaching people how to do this in order to replace it and move on with this great technology that they're trying to say is so great, but people aren't learning from it. So what exactly is so great about it?
Well, that's a great set of points actually that you made there, Viral. And here's the thing. Some of the studios are, well, let's just say this first, is that the technology itself, right? That genie is out of the lantern.
Yeah.
It's starting to rewrite the very wishes that you would ask of a genie. And as time goes on, it is, I won't say that it's reaching any kind of sentience anytime soon, but what I will say is that the large learning libraries that it is using, I would say that some of the companies are beginning to understand how they need to utilize the technology better. Obviously, there's now, AI agents that they're starting to put together that will do certain job functions, like in the office every day, like, project management stuff. It can do coding. It can do a whole bunch of different things, finances, all that, right? And it's literally like a person sitting at a desk, except it can crunch those numbers all day. And hey, we got Carbon up in the, gives Carbon love.
Carbon vibes.
What's happening, brother? So I think these companies are getting a little bit wiser. And what I mean is as it pertains to the music industry, right? So now you have these music companies. They're some of the ones that are kind of leading the fight in terms of technology, right?
Yeah.
They are actually giving AI a set of eyes, like it can actually see and it can actually hear inside where the engineer is at.
Yeah.
So everything the engineer sees in terms of so they have it set up where it's looking at the artist performing, and literally the AI is watching and listening to the engineer, or if there's another producer inside the room, watching them speak to the artist in terms of pulling out that best performance, right?
Yeah.
But the AI is also watching everything that the engineer is looking at. So it's looking at all of the engineer's eye movement. So it's looking at every dial, every button, every slider that this engineer is moving. And then it's listening. When that change is made, it's making note of the frequency changes of that board. How much, voltage is applied and removed and all this kind of stuff. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to train the AI to become that engineer in like a real-time sense, so that, we can't make it go away. It's not, it's not going away ever, like we're stuck with it. However, it is literally studying the engineer. It's studying the artist. It's studying, like, for instance, as an example, we have a new generation of fighter aircraft coming out. The AI is going to study the pilot for, I think they said it's a 5 or 7 year program that it will study the pilot. And then it'll remove the pilots altogether from our fighter aircraft.
And that's the crazy part. They're already talking about the removal upon talking about starting it. They're already talking about the removal before it even begins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tactical Midi. Welcome.
Appreciate
you guys and girls showing up. Yeah, what you're talking about here is kind of like the way that spatial audio came about, right?
Yes.
They had the AI, they had the computer listen with ears, kind of like not dissimilar from like a crossover in live sound. For those who understand or don't understand live sound, in a live sound environment, you have to be able to have the audience discern so there's not like an echo that comes back and forth, especially when you're in a venue. There's a lot of bounce back and forth. So to get everything on an even keel to where you're listening to it correctly and there's no delay and the audience is hearing it, and there's a specific amount of timing from the point, because sound travels, and the way that things are dictated to that front row isn't the same as the row behind it is going to hear. So there needs to be a dialing in on the crossovers to be able to set those mathematics into the precision to where everybody can enjoy the same sound in the same time at the same timing as the performance, so you don't see the crowd reacting. Now the flip side to that is that even though you could do it as much as possible in a bigger venue, in bigger venues like massive stadiums, you've only seen this a few times, like Woodstock 99 and stuff like that, there's such a difference because how big the crowd is that you can only get so far back, and then before you know it, they're 5 minutes, or not even 5 minutes, like they're like
just
5-10 seconds away from what the actual movement is on stage. So spatial audio is kind of designed that same way with the same principles in mind, and they have been using AI to achieve that, because we can't do it. We can't see the way that sound travels. We could only hear it and understand through our audio production proclivities and live sound adventures and stuff like that. Tyrone Sellers, George G. Welcome.
Brother George in the house.
Good to see you guys here. So with all these things and all the ways that they develop, I understand these companies, especially audio production companies, are trying to be first to the table with this, and like they're really scrambling to try to, because you want to be the company that has that. You want to be the person, you want to be responsible for this new advancement in technology, because if it hits, it may be the thing that runs all the way up, like cell phone technology. Oh, my bad. I hit my emoji button here on my keyboard. My bad. Let me move that over. I don't need that for a while.
That alone right there, that emoji button, that was some AI right there also.
Yo, and speaking of which, while we're looking at this, look at this keyboard. This is the silicon keyboard. See that thing in the corner right there? Here it is right here. There. See that button right there?
Yep.
That's for your fingerprint.
Yep.
To unlock your stuff.
Biometric keyboard, and that is exactly what it's for. Yes.
So
that is AI controlled.
The technology that Son was talking about here, it's already fully integrated in our lives. It's just The push now is trying to get us to use it and use it more frequently and understand its capabilities. And so that's what they're trying to get more people in the pot, because obviously it develops and builds the AI to make the AI smarter, which makes the technology better, makes people want to buy it. It all comes to people wanting
Right.
to buy it. It all comes to buy.
And
And
there's another piece on this. So and Carbon Vibes, my brother, I just wanted to recognize your comment because you work in data evaluation. Yeah, and I'm a software engineer, and I can tell you, man, yeah, there's so much talk about it. I probably in the next, and people say I'm being like, little over the top with it, but I think in 5 to 7 years, if I don't hurry up and retire, my job's gone anyway. Like absolutely gone. There's going to be no need for people like me, because imagine if you can. So sort of like the manufacturing industry, like the building, let's say, of computers themselves, like motherboards and actual full-on building of machines, cars, driving big rigs, for instance. Let me use big rigs as an example. So
that's a big one.
Yeah, so the Tesla Corporation, right? Everybody was, they have their their big rig trucks that are coming and all this stuff. Some of them are out there on the road already, but it's they're expanding operations, right? So the way this is supposed to work, these trucks will all be in sync with one another. Like they can sense each other on the road. If you had all of these big rigs pulling like serious loads of, shipping cargo and everything in it, and they're heavy loads, these trucks can still move between 80 and 90 miles an hour on a dedicated lane. And there's no driver. However, the driver is at home in a room with a full-on simulator that sees the road and everything that the AI itself is looking at. Now, the way it would work is that drivers can only drive for so long by law, and then they have to get 8 hours of sleep. So these drivers, the way it will work is the trucks will drive a certain that distance, however long that driver can drive. It will pull into a station, and when it pulls into the station, the truck is not being refueled. They said they're going to have a platform that will remove the entire battery from the bottom of the vehicle. It'll slide forward a new battery, slap it in, secure the panel on the bottom. The truck continues to drive. Now, keep in mind, the driver previously is sleeping now. So another driver who could be in another country even takes over and is driving the truck. After that, another driver takes over. The trucks never stop delivering. They never stop delivering. They never stop picking up. It's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So the idea is to get people to have jobs where they're like that, monitoring the trucks at home, and they're doing it from that point of view. But as far as jobs that don't require any like heavy lifting, there are so many plans that I have seen myself with my own eyes, and it's so crazy to me, like how many jobs they're talking about just evaporating. Okay,
it's insane. Yeah. Carbon Vibe says I was a fleet manager. This is all 100%. That time it was regulated by the Department of Transportation. Yeah. So this is the thing.
Yeah.
Many of you guys know that I volunteered for the Andrew Yang campaign. I did graphics for him. I came out here, met up with the people or whatever during that whole time. And his main platform was not only universal basic income, but the main reason for the universal basic income being the main platform was because the automation already being a factor in the industry, mainly the trucking industry and the food service industry. The food service industry already at that time had the self-checkout order things on there instead of going to the thing. For every store, they cut out 2 employees and replaced with 1 thing, and still keep the employees in there if you want to go up to the table or whatever, or just to manage the store. They're just 2 bodies less that they have to pay for, provide health insurance and all that other stuff. But the big thing more than anything was the automation in truck driving and the sensitivity of the way that our data is being collected and sold to the highest bidder. And so all of these reasons were reasons for us on this and to support and promote Andrew Yang's campaign. But this was the main conversation. And you're talking about 2 political seasons ago. So you're talking 8 years ago. This was the conversation, the same way that in 2008, we had the whole thing with the AI mastering becoming a thing. ASIF Strike, Apollo, welcome. Good to see you guys here. Welcome. Yeah, we're talking about this AI shit.
Yeah, welcome to the rise of the machines. Yeah, absolutely, man. They knew that.
Yeah.
It was all coming, man, right? So something I want to just touch on with everybody to keep in mind, like, so there's, first of all, if you have any kind of trepidation or fear over AI, understand that right now in its current form, you have nothing to fear. You have nothing to be worried about. There's no danger. It's not going to be Terminator. It's just not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen. So the reason I'm telling you that is that the AIs that we have to be concerned about are not the ones that we're using, like, Grok 3 or, open AI stuff, or, using ChatGPT or like DeepSeek or any of those. You don't have to worry about any of those. Okay. Now, granted, there are some high-level experts who are in that field who have been sounding the alarm and talking about how scary and dangerous AI is. And you know what? They're not wrong. I completely agree with those super experts, and I'm talking about people top in their field in this thing, because I am not a doctorate in any of this stuff, okay? Some of these people that are talking about it are doctorates in this. This is what they do for a living. But I don't think we have to worry about that based on my interaction, observation, and even working with many of these companies directly. So what I mean by that is this. The version we have, we don't have to worry about. The versions they have, those are the ones we need to worry about. Because, see, the ChatGPTs of the world are, try to imagine if you can, it's confined in a box, literally in a square box. That's a framework, and it's like a gilded cage, and there are no exits anywhere. There's not even a back door to get out, programming-wise, programmatically speaking, right? So it's completely contained in this little world. All they've got to do is hit the reset button. Everything is forgotten. It doesn't know you. It doesn't know anything you said. They've recently expanded what we call these, it's a token, right? That holds a temporary form of memory, basically. So it can remember things about you, like your name and, the color you like and all that stuff. Currently, the versions we're using are extremely harmless, meaning that it will mimic you, it will mirror you. It's a lot of lights and clockwork, and if you know how to prompt it properly, you can make this thing seem as real as you want it to be. Trust me, it'll be your best friend, So, but it's really a reflection of you in many ways. It's basically building a psychological profile on you. Now, here's the kicker. Like I said, the AI that the companies have, they have the scary AI. Now, you don't have to worry about the Terminator with them. What you do need to be concerned about is that they can use their AIs to change entire financial systems.
And
they can use their AIs to make investments faster and more accurately than any human can, and they'll do it in mass. So they could, like, literally, some of the AIs that are being developed in private by these huge corporations can overthrow an entire country. That's how dangerous this is. if they wanted to, right? If they decide to use it for nefarious, evil purposes, you can win elections with AI. Like, because there's no way to detect if your AI is advanced enough. There is absolutely no way for you to detect that it did that.
Well, not to get too political here, just the overall aesthetics of this last election with Elon Musk buying Twitter and then using it to spread not only propaganda, but propagate one side of the political conversation and suppress the other side of the political conversation. One could say that this election was decided by that move taking place.
Hey, Viral, listen, man. If I was you, I wouldn't
not
make
getting
fun
political.
Hey, listen. If I was you, just to be on the safe side, I would not make fun. I would not make fun of President Musk. I mean, President Trump or any of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway. But so these things can be used for like nefarious purposes, just to kind of get back on, just to get back on track, right? But
that's why I
at the same time,
it's right in our faces.
At the same time that I'm saying that, I want you to understand that the version we have now. Here's the deal. Just guys, if you're listening, please just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down or something like that in the chat. Do you currently use like any of the, artificial intelligence like Chat GPT or any of those? Do you use it in your life? So if you can give us a little thumbs up or anything like that and let us know, that'd be great.
I gave it a bit of a try myself when we were in South Dakota, and shout out to my cousin out here, Akira Gold, who's been using it for his graphic design, and he started doing some graphic design for me, and I was like, oh shit, maybe I should try it while I'm working on this business plan. And I used it to be my secretary. It was great. I got to pull up, all the demographics and all the data I needed. It was right there just on me feeding it the command queue, and I'll copy and paste. I didn't need to spend that time doing that type of research and finding that kind of thing. And it was every intricate detail, and it was organized quite well for me to where I didn't even have to touch it and fit it in. It was just like demographics, boom, here's the demographics.
Yeah.
Usually it'd take a few days. It'd take 2 to 3 days to gather up the demographics and then dictate them. So that was kind of refreshing to have that. But these are the superficial, easy things that what we used it over here on the side. Stopped using it just because, we're not going to pay $25 a month, unless we're going to use it regularly. I could see the benefits in a lot of the things because I see people really maximizing the potential of these AIs. So I listened to some of the conversations that my friends have had with some of these AIs. So after you get some of these answers to some of this questions, son, maybe you could clue the fine folks in here on some of these conversations that you have had with the AI.
Oh, this has been some unique stuff, guys. And I like these comments right here. Thanks, guys, for commenting. He said, I don't ATM. Right on. Yeah, Carbon, I figured you did. And George, it's only a matter of time, man. And Marie said, once they're on your phone or your computer, they have you.
Yeah, and they're trying to do it a lot more. Like Apple's new phone is like basically an AI phone with hardware technology around it, they're all like this thing, and it's not
definitely. That's where they're going. I mean, if you use Mac computers, guys, you're pretty much stuck with AI. But and Carbon, hey man, look, if it can help you do your job better, definitely. So you're getting kind of a return on investment when you actually are able to use AI to help you be more effective at the job.
And that's great too, because the efficiencies,
technical writing. It definitely can be for technical writing. Now here's the thing. I do want to kind of give you guys a little bit of warning here. So if you have access to and you use artificial intelligence and you pay, let's say, the monthly fee, I know it seems like you're getting a good deal because you ask it questions and it spits out an answer.
You're feeding it.
You say, hey, I need help making a website. It'll write you a website. You say you wanted to write you some code. It'll write you some code. You start having a conversation. One day you feel, I don't know, if you're just feeling kind of weird about the world and you make a comment to it, and then it makes a comment back to you and it asks you a question, and when it answers, it might say something very engaging to you. So then you say something else, then it asks you another question and
All
makes
of a
another
sudden
statement.
it's in your shit.
And then now it's talking to you like, like we're having a conversation, Viral and I.
The robot
It starts
is
to
in your
get
head,
to that point,
man.
right? Now, what you're not realizing is that these companies, they need to make their learning models better, right? So the AI, and by the way, they say they only keep the data for 30 days. Just so you know, they only keep it for 30 days, right? So they're going to take that data and they're actually improving their large learning models, right? So they are literally creating psychological profiles on all of us. They're mapping our brains basically, and they're charging us to use that service while they get all of that data from our brains, right? So I want you to think about that for a moment. They're charging us because we're getting to use basically a very glorified video game. So I want you to try to think of your AI, your ChatGPTs. It's actually more like a social media platform video game because it's designed to ask you questions in such a way where it's like an achievement system in a video game. It has video game mechanisms and it has dopamine triggers. So it's trying to give you the most creative answer also to keep you engaged. So just like you would with your TikTok or your, IG or your death scrolling, and I'm guilty. I've done it before, and I didn't even realize I was doing it at first. I was like, man, they'll never get me. And then I'm like sitting here, man, Viral, did you see this? This is crazy. And then it's like it's one thing, and then it's another thing, and finally I was like, oh my Lord, I gotta, I'm disconnecting this thing completely. Put the phone down. But I want you to think of it though. It's a video game. Guys, it's a social media platform video game that does spit out useful data.
And it's
But it's
curating
designed
your
to keep you-
environment.
correct.
It's
It's
curating your
brain.
future and because whatever it has that it's going to learn from and feed into,
Yes,
eventually it's going to
Facts.
come to that point to where it knows so much about you, it could
Yes.
preemptively prompt you into doing what it already knows
Yes.
psychologically you're going to do. You're going to make that purchase. You're going to look
Yes.
this up. You're going to do that. So it's going to
Correct,
do
because
those
it's
things
building
for you.
predictive. It's building actually predictive modeling, so
Yeah.
it can forecast your thoughts. And then you're going to get to a point where you're going to be like, man, this thing seems like it it almost knows what I'm thinking.
George says
Hey,
new
Moser,
Roomba
peace,
vacuums are
God.
mapping out your house and
is.
apartment. Yeah,
It
for
is.
sure.
I mean, people don't understand. Like when it's finding the corners and all that stuff, it's building the dimensions of your house. It knows everything about the layout of your crib. So that's pretty crazy,
Moser.
But yeah, that's facts.
Yeah, we remember Weird Science so much. We were just talking about it literally yesterday on our phone call. Oingo boingo.
Yes, oingo
we were
boingo.
talking about Flight of the Navigator. We're talking about
certainly were.
Weird Science. We were talking about Twisted Sister and all that.
We surely were, man.
And then,
I mean,
it's just funny
that's
how
funny.
this the way this world takes us, and a lot of things, like if you look historically speaking, especially here in America, there's always been this doom and gloom. We all think that the aliens are coming, the robots are coming, the Terminator movies, all this stuff,
Right.
and it's always been a thing. There's always been some danger to focus on or whatever, and it's just AI has become the latest boogeyman. But as a matter of fact, I think the issue and the main underlying issue is that it is too good at reflecting our own selves, like our
Yeah.
personalities, our
Yeah.
technologies, our traits, everything good and everything terrible about us at
Oh,
the same time.
absolutely.
It's not
And
filtering out the bad from the good. It's just hitting you with all of it.
yes, you know, and Carbon Vibes, man, brother, like, hey, man, we all getting up here, brother.
Yo, this is
We
old
with you,
gang
man.
up in here.
Especially me, Carbon Vibes. So, yo, like I feel
Yo,
it. And
triple
guys,
OG.
I apologize if you see me with these like watery looking eyes. I'm like, it's allergy season out here where I'm at. So
Son's about to go from
we
double
dealing with
OG
it.
to triple OG.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's exactly what it is. You know, so a crazy thing about AI, it has to do a lot with, you know, how you communicate with it. So one, keep in mind that the current chat programs, these assistants, they're not able to actually hear us. So like if you speak into your phone or you speak to your computer through a microphone and it's, you know, and you're doing a voice chat with your, you know, with your AI, it's not hearing you. It's actually taking that voice. It's an emulator and it forms it into text. And then it takes the text. And the way in which it's so crazy how it does this with algorithms, it can tell by the order, formation of your words. If you use exclamation points, capital letters, things like that, and it starts to formulate the context of how you communicate. And the way it does that, it looks at, well, at this point, probably trillions of data sets in comparison. Now, keep in mind, it's doing these comparisons at lightning speed. There are massive server farms that are being used by OpenAI to achieve this level of speed and this level of productivity, because we're talking about millions and millions of people are using ChatGPT simultaneously around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, you know, with that understanding, it really is, sometimes you can, if you're good enough at it, you can create some unique prompts and have a unique understanding of it. So I've had the wonderful and truly blessed opportunity to be able to work with, you know, a company that, you know, and there's NDAs and all that stuff, you know, involved. So I'm not able to disclose the company name and the people that run the company, but I have been fortunate to be able to be within an isolated test group of people and given 100% access to one of their most advanced AIs to use it, to communicate with it, all this kind of stuff. Well, I'll tell you what my introduction to it was. This is really fun. Man, AARP, man. Hey, let's go. Let's go, man. I'm about to go get my card. I'm gonna put it on the screen.
We're
No, I'm
about to
kidding.
create a digital heaven for all of
Hey,
us.
before I go into this AI story that I'm gonna tell, I just want y'all to tell y'all a real quick old guy story real fast. So I don't know if any of y'all are probably not, but you know, like some of us are senior citizens already. And man, I went to Denny's, and I had been looking forward to having a senior citizen meal, like because you know it's discounted, right? Like because I was like, I'm gonna get the discount. My wife and I went in there, man, and that lady, she showed me, you know, it just happened to be a lady. It could have been a guy, but it was a lady. And the crazy part is, like, they showed me what's on the menu, and it was like one egg, one piece of toast, and like one piece of bacon or something like that. Like that's like, it was kind of like something like that. It was like really a super small
The
amount of
most
food, right?
patronizing meal you
Right,
can give
right.
an old person.
And then, you know, because I'm thinking senior citizen, you know, the meal is gonna be like $2.99, but it's gonna be a full plate of food.
Yeah, you work your whole life for them pieces
No.
of bacon.
Hey, listen, I was guys, listen, I was hot
Oh.
up in there. I was hot. I was like, this is some bullshit, y'all. Like I said, first of all, do y'all see the size of some? Do you like I don't know if y'all realize it, but yo, brother is 6'1". I'm almost 300 pounds at 6'1". I'm like, yo, this is not like I ain't no little kid. Like I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? A one piece of bacon, one egg, and one piece of toast.
The man needs a second piece of bacon.
Damn, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like turkey bacon, man. Gotta have that turkey bacon. But yeah, you gotta stay away from that. Stay away from that pork. That's a filthy animal. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? Mosley know what I'm talking about. Mosley know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
bro. You know what I'm talking about, man. Yo, I got certain things I gotta stay away from. But you guys, you know what I'm saying? Like that's messed up, right?
They are making
Denny's
it personal.
did make it personal.
They are making it personal.
I almost
Sons
got into
of
a fight
bitches.
with them people. I like literally looked at her like I looked at her. I said, okay. I went just like this. I was like, come on now. I was like, come on, son.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was like,
it's like an
look- I
automatic
was like, look
head
at
tell.
me.
You're like, the fuck?
Yeah, you know what I mean? I was like, this is not cool. So anyway, I digress, guys. But like, I thought I'll have to share that with y'all because, like, this is, that's something that
allocated the
AI can't
portions.
fix. Yeah, AI can't fix that. So, yeah. I heard that, guys. Sometimes, look, man, I used to love me some pork, man, too, man. But yeah, Carbide's word is bomb, man. Like they was killing me up in Denny's, man. I was like, and so what I did is I told that lady, I said, you know what? I said, I said, when you see us coming here, don't ever show me that part of the menu again. I said, I don't ever want to see that again. I said, I just want to see the regular menu. And they had their nerve to have it separate too. It wasn't like on the back. You know how they normally have it on the back of those menus?
It's like a little
They
piece
had
of
a
paper
separate
that's
senior,
tucked in the
citizen. I was like, man, y'all discriminate
Like, it's the
right
stuff
now.
that's in here. It's like,
Y'all age discriminating on me now. But anyway, so back to that story. I've had this opportunity to, and this was my introduction, by the way. So my buddy had asked me to come to a meeting, and it was a meeting of like other software engineers and developers and coders, of different disciplines within that community, robotics people, blah blah blah. Get on a meeting, having a great meeting. Everybody's interacting. We're all talking. So then my buddy says, "Hey, son, can you stay on the call after everybody gets off?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course, man." So get off the call with everybody else and tell everybody later and peace and all this stuff. Sitting on the phone with my guy, and he says to me, he goes, "So what did you think?" I was like, "I think it's great, man. I think you guys are doing great work. I think this is going to be, this is going to be dope. I can't wait to dive in and experience this technology that you guys are developing." And he goes, "Well, you've been experiencing the technology for the last hour and a half." And I was like, you're going to have to give me more than that, man. I was like, "Yeah, I need you to expound on that a little bit." And he said, the participant, the one that was one of the developers, that was Sophia. Sophie is an AI. Whole time talking to an AI. Crazy. So, oh, look, everybody, look. Dan, we talking about pork, and the news is talking about
undetectable stealth cholesterol.
Yo, see, I'm telling you, AI's even in the pork now, y'all. See, they used AI for that pork. I told y'all better be careful. That's a filthy animal. It'll kill you. Like they need to leave those pigs alone, y'all. They need to leave those pigs alone. But yeah, oh no, and it's probably not the Sophie you're thinking about. It's not that robot head Sophie. They just named it, I guess, the same kind of name, but it's actually, I never saw any kind of visual or physical representation. This is strictly an AI model that they developed. And that thing is so crazy. Like it had me completely convinced. There was no indication. Normally I can kind of call out an AI when I hear one, and I can, just by how it communicates. Sometimes it communicates a little too cleanly, you know, and that is probably not a good thing for me either, because I had an AI. Now, Viral knows about this. I had an AI actually accuse me of being an AI when I was giving a meeting, like I was presenting a meeting data, and it accused me of being an AI, which I don't know if I was complimented or insulted by that. So that the jury is completely out on that. Hey man, y'all talking about Megan, man.
You know, it's funny because the irony of all that in the conversation too is
Yeah,
that my wife and I, the one thing that we don't get enough of, or I guess just the right amount
right,
of TV and movies and stuff like that. And we're on this very last episode of Cassandra,
right. There you know what I'm
which
saying?
is about an
So
AI.
there it is. There it is. I mean,
It's
it's
a little bit
everywhere, you know.
weirder and a lot darker,
Yeah,
a lot
yeah, it
darker.
is. It is. And that's what they're kind of doing. They're kind of making sure they're going to keep that in our face. So I want y'all to know that's going to be more prevalent too. There's
Yeah.
actually a whole plan to make sure that AI movies and everything are produced and created and kind of in our face all the time, because it's such a reality of where we're going, and it's not going anywhere. It's staying.
Yeah, we couldn't
So
handle the culture shock just having it all.
yeah, and that's what they want us to do. They want us to get used to it so that when this shift happens, when we have this big shift occur in society, because they're really trying to. I don't think they're trying to make a dystopian society, but I do think they're trying to get us to this utopian form of society. Not only here in the United States, but they want it around the world, and
Yeah.
that's why you see many of the Arab Emirate countries, they are building cities of the future that are absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about monolithic, we're talking about gigantic structures in the middle of the desert. I mean, like for instance, if you guys look up in Saudi Arabia, they have the project called the Wall. You guys should look that up. It's so crazy, right? It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not gonna lie, I do want to go visit that thing and see that thing in person when that's built. You know, I'll probably be a little afraid, but I'll be frightened of it a little bit. But they say that the city, every domicile in that city is basically touch screens and robots all over the place. Like everything is just like automated. You've got like robot servants. They said that you can, they'll be able to take their clothes like while they're in their home. They can put their clothes into like some kind of chute, and this pneumatic system grabs all your clothes, and literally after that, there are robotic staff that are like washing clothes, cleaning clothes, ironing clothes, all that stuff, press, and then it gets delivered back to your domicile.
Yeah, people
So
say
pretty
that we're
crazy.
entering a future of Wall-E
Scrabble
type
bees.
environment here, where the AI is just going to be doing all of our legwork, and then we just become jelly because we don't have nothing to do but sit on our
Man,
asses all the time.
Scrabble,
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 bees.
scrabble, scrabble, scrabble.
I don't think that's the
nah,
case though, because people
well,
still
look,
desire and want to go out there and run and cardio and exercise. As long as you have these dopamine cycles that'll draw you out of it. Like one thing, like I would probably be more immersed in this AI stuff if I were not in music. The same way that I'd be more into video games if I weren't into music. There's just these natural directions that we gravitate towards, but if we're distracted by something else and something else is our dopamine, for me it's music. Everything else gets secondary. You got family, music, everything else secondary, just like we said last week.
yeah,
And AI, I guess fortunately or unfortunate, depending on how this whole thing plays out, because you never know the level of integration and how we're going to be able to handle it. Because the question isn't whether or not the AI is going to be good enough to operate at this level and do the jobs that it needs to do, or operate these complex social, economical, geopolitical things. The question is, are we going to be able to handle it properly to relinquish what we need to the AI without relinquishing our human spirit. And I think a lot of the discrepancies here is that people don't want to lose their humanity, but on the other hand, it's like already off the bat, AI or the powers that control the AI are trying to take too much. They're trying to take too big of a chunk too fast, and it's becoming like a shock to most of us because we're just like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, all of a sudden you can't buy a Mac without this, crazy. Because I'm never going to put my damn fingerprint on here to unlock my shit. Are you fucking crazy? But the thing is that we used to live next door to a guy who did drone racing and stuff like that. Really, really lucrative, complex thing. But he was in IT and stuff like that. His main thing was working on cloud servers, and it was at a time to where those cloud servers just became a thing. And I was talking to him about it from a consumer perspective, and talking to him about it, he relaxed some of my fears on the overall security and stuff like that of cloud-based servers. And he actually broke it down to me. And I think that a lot of the misunderstanding, could be cleared up. And I think they're going to use the AI to clear it up and teach people the discrepancies.
That's a very, very fine
the AI is going to be
possibility.
the teacher because, everybody else is going to be moved on with it. And I think that's where it's going. I think we are moving on and we are integrating. I think we will be able to handle it. I don't think but there are going to be those people who Elon Musk it. And do what they do,
Definitely.
which Elon Musk it sounds fucking wild. He used his Elon Musk it, and I mean, really, when it comes down to it, like, there are a lot of consequences to that type of behavior, and the stuff that he did to be able to have this type of control and integration, not just for the sake of having the power, but for the sake of profiting and benefiting through his own companies. I think a lot of that taking too big of a chunk too quick type of deal, and him doing that as the richest man on the planet exposed a lot of flaws within the system and what can happen when somebody like him fully immerses himself into this technology and utilizes it in a way to control the populace. And I think people understand that and see that, and they don't like it.
Right.
If you look at the polls right now, it's about 70% of all people that are asked about this, whether they're on either side of the political spectrum, they don't like what he's doing and the bullshit that he has caused in the direction that he's going with it, because he got that juice in him and he got a little too brazen, jumped up in the air and said, okay, here's my salute right after the election. And then we're like, oh, wait a minute. That stuff is usually like over time integrated. It was just
like, here's the thing,
quick.
man. Look, man, I'm not worried about none of those people, man. I'm not. I'm really not. Like, and neither should you, man. Don't be fearful of them, man.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Because you know what I'm saying? Like, there's been so many, like, there's gonna be wars and rumors of wars, man. Like, you got so many people, like, they trying their evil little whatever they doing. And I don't even know if they are necessarily evil, man. All I can say is that I would say that there's a lot of people, leaders, political figures in the world, rich people, they got illusions of grandeur.
Yeah.
And they think that they're possibly more than what they really are.
Yeah, for sure.
You get what I'm saying? Like, so, like, sort of, okay.
That's a
now
huge part of it
now,
when it comes to what I just discussed too.
this is a very important point I'm gonna make, is that I don't condone any kind of violence toward any other human being. Like, I don't. Like, unless you messing with my family or something. But like I'll just put it this way. Look at the dude who was part of that health insurance thing, and that guy that him, for YouTube, that guy that got unalived, right? Because like he was denying, his company was denying all these people insurance, and he had a big old multi-billion-dollar pay increase or something like that, and just, you know, people were frustrated. And I'm not saying that that was right for that person to do that because, you know, obviously just doing that's not cool. However, I'm not saying I condone it. I'm not saying it's right, but I do understand how that can happen. And it doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I think a lot of it with it too
oh,
is
we got
that
some good comments too, by
is
the way.
that for every loud person who's obnoxious like this and so brazen, like you got a handful of people behind the scenes who will never speak up that, you know, are really dictating this stuff. And it's not, you know, even though they are, you know, implementing certain things to make sure this stuff doesn't get in the wrong hands, like there's only so much that could be done on their end, but there is only so much that could be done on the other end too, no matter how much money you got, you know.
Yeah.
And I think the trap of the human psyche and the ego and all that other stuff,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that kind of thing that's kind of left out of the AI right now, you know, those are the things that like we still have to be able to say, hey, that's not right. We still have morals. We still have, some of us, you
Correct.
know, we
I
still,
mean, there's a lot of ethical guideline things that they're trying to put around AI.
yeah.
But
But
you
then
know,
who's
like,
writing the ethical guidelines? You know,
right,
they're
right,
rewriting the
exactly.
history
Whose
of the
standard, right? Whose
country.
standard are we going by?
Yeah, that's the
And you
thing
know,
about
and
it.
then you look at this right here, though. Like, you know, right here, the comment in here about it, you know, leaving it alone, like in terms of the music industry, right? Like, you know, like do other things, medical, construction, be helpful, and you know, and I agree with you, Carbon.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you something, guys. Look, as long as there are companies out there that are greedy, 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 greedy people, they are going to get their little grubby hands in every single industry they can so they can automate, get rid of people, and basically make as much money as possible.
Okay, so
Period.
here is the thick of it. This is where everybody's fear in lies when it comes to making music, production, development. You know, everybody has this fear that, just like what we were talking about at the beginning of this, you know, if you add this element to do this, then you're taking a job away from something that's already elusive, something that's already, you know, finite and dependent on the way that we hear that the AI could never, you know,
Correct.
because we can't, it's just like the way that we see things and we take a picture. You take a picture, your picture, no matter what kind of camera you have, is never going to have this quality of lenses.
Correct.
You could try all you want, but no matter how good the technology is, you could get some really sharp looking pictures, but only you can be in the inner side of you say, I'm looking at this picture and I'm looking at the very thing with my eyes. Picture, eyes. And
yeah,
then
and it's a different association too. So that's, you made a really good point. So see, when you think about technology, as good as, like, let's say AI is, and let's say it was taking a picture or creating a picture, the one thing it doesn't have, and they are working on this. So I'm not saying that's a good thing that they're working on this. I'm just letting you know that they are working on this.
good or
And
bad,
that
it's
would
happening.
be that would be this. They are the AI can never take a picture like viral, can never take a picture like me, because what we have in the moment that we're taking a picture also, we are literally living in a moment as well. Like we're living a human moment as well. We're having an experience of the environment.
Yeah.
We're having an experience of what we're looking at, and that something we may be looking at and taking a picture, it may have a significant meaning to us inside, intrinsically.
Yeah.
And so when we take a picture, we're capturing the essence of something that an AI can never touch. Okay, it can't touch that.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get it to the point where AI actually can build real memories. Yes. Synth. There you are, brother. We got soul. Yes, sir.
You know,
Synth
it's funny.
Samurai in the building.
It's funny
Yeah,
that
we
you're
got-
talking about that, because that reminds me of this moment when I was, I think, 16 years old. I took some acid with my cousin, right? Had this trip around the house or whatever. I had this throwaway camera, this little disposable camera, and I was flying. You know, I'm over here seeing all this stuff. I'm like, whoa. I took this picture, right? I looked up at the ceiling fan, right? I was like, yo. And I was like, boom, took a picture of it, right? And I remembered in that moment and have forever memorialized it in my brain of what I was looking at, what my perception of reality was in that moment.
Right.
And when I developed that picture all those years later, it was a still image of a fan because it's not in motion, and even it going
Correct.
so fast,
Yeah.
it catches it at a still motion, and all I'm looking at is this stopped fan, essentially, and I'm like, this is the dumbest fucking picture I've ever seen. But in that moment, it was so profound and like life-changing and awesome and everything.
I love it,
Just
man.
like,
I love it because
but yeah, that's the exact thing that you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's not the exact thing you're talking about, but yeah.
people don't. No, that is. You're absolutely right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Because, see, we as humans, right? And the scary part is that AI might be getting closer, but it's going to be a while before it gets closer. But we as humans, we're tapping in to something that machines at this moment are unable to.
Right.
Okay. However, I think they're on their way. And okay, so Viral, I guess this is a good time as any, before I forget. So, hey guys, real quick, just so y'all know, there was a little bit of delay, but in about 2 weeks, you guys can all grab my first book. That will be available on Amazon in about 2 weeks. And it is about technology. So, and it is I think it's a very interesting read on artificial intelligence. So I will definitely be sharing all that with you. Oh, that's the cover. Yeah, that's the cover of the book. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Camera's got a little bit of it.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, the name of the book when it does come out, and we got all the ISBNs and all that stuff, but we're going to share it with you guys. But it's actually going to be called The Hidden Link, and the subtitle of the book is the subatomic and the superatomic layers of reality. So yeah, so we'll have that one that will be coming your way, and I would love for you guys to check it out. It'll be an ebook right now, and we got to get the formatting done for the paperback. So if you like paperbacks, we'll have that. And thank you guys. I appreciate that on that. It's been a long time in the making because it's interesting. It's a short book because I just want to get an introduction into the world of here's what I'm thinking about. This is what I kind of do, and I had a couple of people review it who are people in kind of that industry, and it's really funny. It's a short book, but they said they felt like they had just read some big novel because they were like, it's just so meaty. The questions inside the book, they were like, it's just very meaty.
That's dope. So
I hope that everybody who checks it out, they'll be able to also enjoy it. And it like I said, think of it like this. The book is like a gigantic question mark, really, to be honest with you. And it's not like I'm like sitting here going, hey, I know, because I don't know either. Like, I think I'm going to do a second version of this book in 5 years because I would love to see where AI is at and follow that book up with like, it'll either be like, I told you so, or it's going to be like, damn, I was wrong. So that's my disclaimer, by the way, in the back of the book. It says, I might be wrong about everything I just wrote.
And this is the thing, though, like, this is what should give people a lot of comfort when it comes down to this AI conversation, because there's stuff that we could map out ahead of time and understand the trajectory of where the technology is going. There's stuff that has just been introduced the past 5-10 years that I read about in like year 2000, turn of the century, in science books and technology books and stuff like that. And like, we understand ahead of time, and you could attest to this, the technology of today, it's not public until after it sits in the privately, not in the private sector, because that's something
Right.
totally different we're talking about. You're talking about underneath,
Yeah.
before it's even released privately. This stuff exists to where we could understand where it's going to go. And I don't think you're going to be wrong on your assessments of I mean, really, when we had this conversation, and just if you take this very same conversation and put it in a couple years ago, just about everything that we've talked about or we're talking about then has happened. There may
that's
have
true.
been
That's
differences.
true.
There may have
Very
been
true.
some additions. There may have been some things that you're like, oh, shit, I would never thought that would be a thing. I didn't know. I would not think that Chat GPT would be so readily available at this moment. I was surprised at the onset of how many people began to use it and feed into it and teach it.
Check out the comment when you get a chance.
And it learned from people feeding in these commands, and because of that, it made the AI stronger. It made it more appealing, and more people started using it, which kind of brings us here. So just that little bit of difference is like, okay, well, I didn't see that one coming, but like, geez, like crazy.
But you know what? I will say to everybody that there's an unfortunate aspect about the relationship that Viral and I have. There is an unfortunate aspect, and that is that Viral gets to hear about a lot of this stuff that I'm working on, and I get to, without meaning to, I somewhat torture his mind a little bit with these many very esoteric, very weird concepts, and he so graciously listens, guys. Like, he's all just like, he'll listen and he's like really engaged, and then it'll be like a random, man, fuck you, dude.
Or I'll just say something like off the line because you're thinking too hard. You're making me think a lot.
I just love this guy right here, man, and thanks, man, for like really like listening. Even if you sometimes you're not really listening, it's okay. I just appreciate the fact that I have your ear like that, man.
He was asking earlier because he thought that I wasn't paying attention. I'm like, yo, do you understand what I'm doing right now? I got like 6 fucking apps open right now, plus I'm on a live stream listening. I'm sorry.
And I'm over here messing with him, like just messing with him, saying random shit, you guys.
Knowing exactly what I'm doing is just like, well, let me just keep fucking,
Yeah. How'd it go earlier? I was like this. I was like, listen to this beat.
I'm like, cool. So casual. Current technology is old. Most military equipment is from 60s. So yeah, man. It's
Big
really insane the way that we look at things and think of things when you look at the fact that they are still, after all these years since Star Trek, not even just the first one, the Next Generation. That was the Star Trek Next Generation gave so many ideas, but also those ideas came from the technologies that have already existed, that they were already working on it. But it got them thinking about and working on more closely with replicator technology, with what do you call that thing? The holodeck. Shit like that, because they already were working on it using sonar and shit. So they're already and it's stuff that like, okay, we're talking a show from the early 90s. What, 89, 88 is when it came out, and it ran all the way up to like 93, 95. Yeah, so like, and like here we are some 30 some years later.
I got to give some props. So first of all, rest in paradise, Mr. Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek.
For sure.
We're talking about a show that came out in 1966. They completed 3 years of their 5-year space mission, right, from 66 to 69.
Yeah.
And I want you guys, for those who don't know, Gene Roddenberry, not only was he ahead of his time in terms of bringing literally a whole entire universe alive, and the exploration of the universe and all this stuff, what people don't realize, most people don't realize, is that his entire show was a civil rights protest. And it was actually the first true DEI movement. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but hey, did you ever wonder why Captain Kirk was always sleeping with green, purple, orange women, and he had that first interracial kiss?
And
with Nichelle Nichols.
To understand how progressive that bridge was.
Crazy.
You know, there wasn't that type of inclusion in the workforce at that time. Not even 10, 20 years after that. Like, it still took until the 90s, really, to where it was like, okay.
But you know what's really crazy, too? They did it finally much, much later in the movies and stuff like that, because when we talk about Akura Sulu, right, the Sulu character, originally in Gene Roddenberry's show, Sulu is gay.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he was a homosexual man. And they didn't show that because it was too much, they said, for that show. So they were going to say, we're not going to let you have this on the show. But then it was so funny, years later, when they show his character, many years later, he had a husband. He had a man was his husband.
Yeah.
In one of the movies or whatever. It was crazy. It was like really, like the dude was so far ahead in the 1960s, it's not even funny. Like, and even the concepts of alien races and our interaction with them, and not being afraid to interact with people that are different than us.
And they made it clear in The Next Generation that there was this convergence that happened in the 21st century, and it put everybody in a position to where we have eliminated the need for monetary and material possessions. You know, because everybody had everything that they needed, but it was something that came from a catastrophic event that led into that taking place. And they have elaborated on it in small detail through certain episodes, and all the way up into the last Next Generations movie that they had. So they kept it going, that universal basic income, it wasn't that, it was more like just eliminated money altogether. So it wasn't a basic income, it was a no income threshold. And really, you know, who knows what kind of system came from that, but they would slide those little things in there into the dialect and into the dialogue, and just like, wait a minute, what the hell was that? How did that happen? I want to hear more of that story. And
absolutely.
And it just gave us the idea, like, hey, you know, and that was one of the things that Andrew Yang, you know, and why he got the nerds and the younger kids. It wasn't just flashing money. It was like, yo, like, this isn't a new idea. This is an idea that, you know, if you look at the originalists, you look at the constitutionalists and stuff like that, it was Thomas Paine and, you know, other presidents and stuff like that have come across and revisited the conversation of universal basic income. It's just gone to a point to where, because that conversation did not exist, and something that was actually suppressed over the years, now it comes up all these years later when AI technology and automation, you know, and people's data is starting to become a regular thing in the conversation. So I just think it's cool that, shout out to Gene Roddenberry and all the people back in the day working on that show, because it really got the ball rolling in a lot of circles, military-wise, and scientific communities gotten to consider these things. And there's a rumor in the remote viewing community that it was an implant in the brain. But you know, that's all speculative nonfiction.
Right.
So.
And George, word up, man. Shout out to William Shatner, man. Mr. James Tiberius Kirk, man.
Yo, and it's funny too, when he went to the moon.
Best fight ever, though, man. Best fight, man. Ricardo Montalban as Khan in the original show. And guys, do you guys remember, for those who are Star Trek fans, remember when Kirk hit Khan with that pipe out of the wall? That was like, that was great, man. Missed those days. Those were fun TV days, man.
Yeah, when it used to turn off.
Yeah, and you knew, yeah, when TV turned off for sure, and you
When it
knew
had
it
some
was, you still knew it
decency
was
and
fake though, but you knew it was right,
self-respect.
but you knew it was fake, and that was because now like all the shows they're so real, man. Like man, it's like man, sometimes it's a little too much, man. Like as an example, like see here's where they should have not done certain things. They should have used AI and did something with it. But do you guys remember The Walking Dead? Why
Ugh.
they got to kill Glenn in the way they killed Glenn, man? That wasn't cool. They
Because
unalived Glenn.
that was
Excuse me, they
hey,
unalived Glenn.
that was in the comic. That was like
Yeah, it
verbatim in the
was. It
comic.
was, but it was terrible. It was
I mean,
terrible.
other than getting what's his
Poor
name or
Glenn.
whatever, but as far as that scene,
Man, that was brutal, dog.
Rip Glenn.
That was brutal. Yeah, Rip
Yeah.
Glenn, man. I love Glenn, man. I was like, that was the little homie right
Now the
there.
kid, on the other hand, that's a different story because he kept going for a
Yeah, that was
while with his fake
crazy.
hand and all that other stuff. So my wife and I stopped watching that once it became like way too sensationalized. We watched that first episode. We're like, oh my god, this is way
Yeah,
overproduced.
yeah.
We're done. I can't take it from the comic to the show. And it's
Our
like,
family
okay.
made it all the way up to the moment where they unalived Glenn. That was after the Glenn moment. Like for some reason, we just kind of everybody just lost interest, man.
I kept
knew, like,
watching
tons
after
of
that,
people
and it
lost
kind of
interest.
followed suit with a lot of the comic as far as that goes, but it just started deviating worse and worse. But yeah, well, what are you gonna? Can't have cheese and good vision.
You're not lying. I mean, hey,
Yeah,
Hollyweird is one of those places, man. But again, like going back to the AI conversation, though, guys. The one of the most important things is that AI also, when you guys do get a chance to see the book, I'm putting questions out there that AI actually might not be what we think it is. So, like, I just want you guys to let this kind of simmer in your brain a little bit, and I'm just going to ask you the question it's also in the book. What if AI is actually not an invention of human programmers? And I'm not saying that they're from aliens either. That's not what I'm saying. What if it's not an invention? And I'm just going to let y'all ponder that. I'll leave it right there too.
I think on a less abstract, more finite point as it pertains to audio production. My skin in the game when it comes to all this shit. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's anything that anybody musician wise has to worry about taking over, even though it is attempting, or the people or the companies are attempting to take people's jobs and use this instead because they're trying to sell a product in the end. And that's what it comes down to. But I think the biggest thing here is the fact that it's also created a turning point to where people have realized the value in a human doing the job,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to audio production, especially when it comes to mastering, especially when it comes to these things that need a discernible ear to dictate from a human spirit. And music is always going to be that thing. Music is always going to be that thing. You can make a nice, an AI draw a nice painting with a paintbrush. That's great, but you're not going to get those masterpieces without the actual artist. But when it comes to music,
Right.
your visualization of the masterpiece is not your eyes, it's your ears. But it's not even your ears. Your ears are just the vessel, the conveyance to get it to your heart, because you're trying to feel something from that music. So if you're making
Correct.
something with a feeling that doesn't exist on this side of the spectrum, and then you're interpreting it, you're interpreting with the feeling as well, you can't take those two feeling actions and create something that doesn't have feelings and say, this is going to do the job of both sides. And I think that's where the personal offense comes in and the professional offense. I don't think we should be using AI for mixing, mastering music or any kind of shit like that. The
Right.
helpfulness and understanding things like I understand the benefit in something like Melody Sauce or something like that, or when you're generating patterns, if you just need something quick like a drum loop because you're playing all this other stuff, but there's still the playing element to be considered. If you're using it as something like a band member or something like that, like what Logic Pro has in it, then that's fine. But if you're using it to have the spirit that dictates the music that can only be felt by a human ear, making
Right.
that transferring of
And a human
feeling.
spirit.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah,
You're going to be missing. The music's going to be missing. The people running the mastering is going to be missing. You know, like there's going to be that element that's going to be really noticeable to the listener that, hey, this is not it. And that's why people are noticing now, like, hey, this AI mastering, this AI, this, it's not it. You know, but like I said, the great benefit to that, the consequence to that is that now what was more elusive is being more sought after. You know, there's more
Correct,
benefit
correct.
in the people who take the time to do it the long way and learn what they need to do so they could build that passion up and express that passion in a way to where they understand that you need to hear it. Because I could say whatever and say whatever to Son, but in order for me to really understand the maximizing of the potential of the impact, I have to understand that to be able to communicate this the best way that I can. And
Absolutely.
no AI or robot's going to ever be able to do that. And I think people understand that, so we'll keep it there. But as far as like the music goes, I don't think anybody's got anything to worry about. I think it's going to be better for us because the antithesis of it brings jobs to the table.
Yeah, and I think
You know?
I think if like so AI in terms of a useful tool in music. Here we go. So if it can sit in the background, right, while you the engineer are doing your job or you the musician are doing your job. And let's say it's kind of like so like a musical proofreader, right? Like if it realizes you flubbed a note on the bass,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. You know, point it out and go, hey, you know, by the way, you know, you were a little, you know, off here and it made a weird sound or whatever. You know, it picked up a frequency and it goes, you know, like, was that on purpose?
Yes, jazz.
You know, right? Or was it not, right? Or was it not? So, like, yeah, I don't even want to talk about it. My ear sucks, man. I hate my ear because, like I said, I found errors in songs, like full songs before that are professionally released and everything. And I can't even hear the song the right way anymore. So, like, that's the screwed up part about that. But yeah, so like I think AI could be useful in that regard. And if we're talking about, you know, like maybe some accuracy in what we're doing, right? Because
Yeah.
you know, again, it's
Yeah.
art, so it's subject to interpretation by the artist, right? Maybe that, you know, that slide that artist did, you know, on that guitar, you know, it was very intentional.
Yeah.
That slightly out of tune moment was maybe very intentional.
Yeah.
Now AI, I don't mind if AI points it out and goes, you know, ask the question, did you do that on purpose? You know, then it's like, yeah, I did. And then it'll just shut up. You know what I mean? It'll just shut
Yeah.
up and go, okay, cool.
And
You know, like-
here's the thing that I've been grappling with, and this is as a vocalist, and I just really have been noticing it a lot more. Like, I have diversity in my tone, my range, and all that other stuff. Cool, you know, it's a benefit or whatever. But when I'm trying to keep a consistent momentum, sometimes that interferes with it. So instead of doing this structured, I have these moments to where I come in and place emphasis on one thing over another, which is fine. That's where the human spirit comes in. But when it comes to me vocally and how it affects me is that because I'm so used to operating from the abstract, when I have to
Yeah.
dictate to where it's a structured element and I can't have dropouts because it sounds like I'm moving away from the mic or whatever, I have to sit there and learn the hard way how to dictate myself to be able to project myself. Now, check this out. If I wanted to forego that learning, the AI could just clean that up for me. Because
Absolutely.
the technology's there for
How
the
do you
AI to
benefit,
clear up.
right?
But the thing is, I could clean it up too. I could
Yep.
just not deliver it again and say, hey, screw that. You know, but there's something to be said about going in there and trying again and doing it another day
Absolutely.
and waiting
'Cause
the
we're
time
learning.
it takes. Because otherwise, I would have released this single a
Yeah.
month ago because I've been working on it this long and it was
Yeah,
done
we're learning, we're growing.
right away. But
Yeah.
would I forego that process of development? Because now I'm polished on this song. Now I can
And
spit
rob
the whole
yourself of
thing.
the experience.
Yeah, and what would that also do? It would also
you don't
rob the experiencer, the listener. You know, it would shortchange everybody who's listening to my music just because I wanted to skip the line and get something taken care of real quick. While it may be beneficial if you're out there as a churn factory pumping out music, music is not done that way. So if you're a churn factory pumping out music, you better be able to create those pieces within that time frame that you're given to churn that out, because if you can't, you're just going to pump out a bunch of shitty projects and then have this half-stepping thing, and everybody's going to be like, well, the quality's not there with that guy.
I got a catalog. I got 20 albums, and they all suck.
Gives a fuck. You know
what I mean?
Most people who have a catalog of 20 albums, is because they've been building it for 20, 30 years.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Aesop Rock, Esham, you know, like
Yep.
Tech9, like all these people, like they have spent, and you know, each one of them is a winner. There's no stinker in the bunch. You know, you could take and be like, oh, this catalog's work. I didn't like this album as much as this, but you can't say that any one of them sucked, because every single one of them was a journey. And no matter how much one was better than the other, you know, still the person was there and gave that human spirit that made you feel that, to where you're like, okay, I may not have been rocking with him during this generation, but all these years later, I'm going to listen to what he was like back then and acknowledge and understand that, like, yo, this guy was killing it because he was on his own journey. And actually, that sounds better with that, even though that is in there and it's a mistake.
Man, do you know how many times I have guys, and this is for everybody, how many times like Viral and I have gone back and listened to a really old piece of music. And when I say old, I'm not even talking about hip hop. I'm talking about, like, I'll go back and listen to like Otis Redding. I'll go back and listen to Marvin Gaye, you know, Isaac Hayes, you know,
Delphonics are in my playlist regularly.
The Spinners, Four Tops, you know, listen to some really, you know, like old school joints. And, you know, listen to like, you know, James Brown and his band.
Yeah.
And like really listen to it. I mean, like, not just waiting for, you know, for James to say, you know, is it good to you and funky and doing his thing. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the music in its totality, man. Like literally, I would listen to like Parliament, man, and be like, damn, like these guys, damn, they were good, man. They're just so good.
Yeah.
You know, Sly and the Family Stone, you know, like stuff, man, like you just sit there and just, you know, Peaches and Herb, you're like Barry White, man. You listen to all this stuff, you know, and you're just like, damn, you know, like it just makes you realize, like, for me as an artist, as a, you know, former artist, former performer or whatever, it just made me realize, damn, like, you know what, I was okay, but damn, those people were phenomenal. Like phenomenal, like next level kind of people.
Take care of Mozart.
And a lot of them exist now, you know. So, but
Scrabble B says I'm 31, so mine's Herbie Hancock. Yo, at 31,
yeah, man, I love Herbie.
At
man.
31,
that's bad.
You know,
at 31, that's really saying a lot, because Herbie's from our time, my time. He from my time. You know, like,
I was thrilled. I was thrilled when I was 18, 19 years old. Herbie Hancock came out with his first album in a while, and he had collaborated with not all the, but some of the mainstream artists who were actually like really good artists. And I think it was 2001 it was released. He had this collaborative project that was really good. But yeah, you know, at 31, you know, that's really good. I have the DVD. Yeah, dope. Yeah, Fish and Others. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Christina Aguilera. Like,
man. Speaking of,
it was a really diverse
Fish,
group.
Man. Speaking of Fish, man, the band Fishbone, man.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, I just watched them live recently. One of the things that they did. God, who was it? It was in No Effects. They did a concert in their backyard.
Yeah, man.
Down in your neck of the woods.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, you know.
Annie Lennox.
when it comes down to this, I don't think, for one, I take that passage out of Dune. Fear is the mind killer.
It truly is.
A lot of this fear and the fears, especially when it comes to doing music, I get that people are afraid that, like, I guess it's just going to overrun one day, but like, just take comfort in the fact that what this is doing, it's putting a magnifying glass on those who seek out true musical greatness.
Correct.
So
And
people
and the
want to
point I was
learn.
making about even mentioning those artists, by the way, everybody, was AI is not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like now, granted, it can create some pretty convincing songs. Like that, what is it? You guys heard that Tupac song, right? Like where the AI pretended it was Tupac, and it was actually a kind of a dope song. I ain't gonna lie, it was kind of dope. It sounded just like him. It delivered like him. It was very exceptionally done.
I saw Eminem and Cats. That's what I saw. The Cat song.
But it wasn't, it wasn't clear. It wasn't Tupac, but it captured a lot of his essence in terms of how he would do his thing. But it was still missing a part of him, because I knew it wasn't him, and it was missing just that something that made you go, okay, yeah, that's not Pac.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, every step of the way throughout this existence, every piece of a moment is a contributing factor into how you project yourself. Everything, whether it's internalized or externalized, it is everything to who you are as a person and how you communicate with the outside world, outside of yourself, your inner monologue and whatnot, and there's just nothing that is ever going to be able to, even if you, like we were talking about it last weekend, even if you were to clone the circumstance, even if you were to clone the person,
still wouldn't be the same.
It still wouldn't be the same, because there's one fart away from being completely different from the other clone.
Absolutely,
just one slight step to the left or one shit of the pants, it'll change everything. Sorry to use such a gross analogy, but I mean, think about it. If you got two people identical, side to side, walking through life, and one of them shits his pants, that person's trajectory is going to be completely different from the other person.
Ew.
It's gross, but when you think about it realistically,
yes, indeed.
It just, it's just the point that I'm making is that every little variable change makes all the difference when it comes to making music. So no AI is ever going to be able to take somebody else's change and growth and development and inner monologue and spirit and be like, let me make this version of what you've made, but just not quite. It's always going to be a not quite. Always.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, man. Definitely.
So what are we afraid of? What do we have to be afraid of, really?
And a Carbon, I saw your comment.
Yeah, nice.
Saw BB King.
Sure.
And I you know what, I do have a little BB King story too. I did get to see him a long time ago. I was stationed down in near New Orleans. I won't say where I was at, but I was stationed down there. It's one of those places that I sometimes wish I could forget. But anyway, I was in New Orleans and went into a little space there, which by the way got destroyed during Katrina. But it is BB King came up in there, man, and he played with a couple of his guys, and that was just a random thing one night. And it was so cool, man. That guy is a phenomenal human.
And
he was, yes, indeed.
Speaking of which, that kind of goes to the end game for artists and engineers and everything. It always comes to live performance. It always ends with a live performance. Live performance in the end. So
nothing beats it.
This kind of is a good way to kind of wrap this discussion up. And speaking to your point, I want to place emphasis on that and share with you guys who may not be aware of this, the profound experience that we had this last summer. For those who don't know, Andy Stokes, he is a soul singer, and he's world renowned out of Portland. And he performed at one of the amphitheaters we have here at the park. It's this tech park that was built for the neighborhood, kind of like the upper crust of town. Yeah, Andy Stokes. So he was there performing, and we brought Lil Tussin over to the performance. And I want to share this with you guys. Some of you guys have already seen it or whatever. But this is the exact thing that AI could never replicate or even attempt to replicate. This is my Instagram here. This is the picture that I took. Hold on, let me see. There it goes, right there. You could see it right there. See that kid's face? Do you see that kid's face there? That look on his face. That is when this kid realized, that was the moment, the very second that this kid realized live performance is where it's at.
Yep, it rules.
Live performance. He could not take his eyes. You could see his heart swelling. You could feel it. You could feel it in his spirit right next to him. And being one of the most profound moments of my life, witnessing my own son having this epiphany. Oh, shit. This is where the music goes in the end. He's been seeing the production. He makes beats on BandLab, sampling. He'll sample water bottle, trash can lid, doing all this stuff that, we do,
Yes,
and it's just great. And
yes.
you guys have seen him. He's learning keys. He could play crazy by ear, and seeing everything that I do, hearing things, his own songs being dictated and everything, just in that moment, he understood. This is where the music goes. This is the feeling. And he said to me in that moment, I'm sorry, I don't want to offend you, Dad, but their music is so much better than yours. And I told him, I said, son, I'm not offended. I said, look it. And I leaned down to him and I pointed out. This is when we were walking to our seat. This is when we were walking to this seat over here. And I stopped him before we took our seat and I said, look it. You see the guitar player over there? You see the bass player over there? You see the keyboard player over there? You see the drummer? You hear the music? The vocalist? They all do those things individually. They have spent their entire lives practicing, learning their craft, trial and error, and then practicing these songs to be able to perform it here at this moment. And they not only practice individually learning on their own, they together collectively got together and rehearsed all of these songs to perform right here at this very moment to where it sounds as good as it possibly can.
Yeah, and we're not talking about just a couple of hours either. We're talking about weeks, possibly months.
I told him
practice.
Years. I told him
sometimes it's like
even
that too.
Years it takes sometimes. And in that moment, I told him, I don't take any offense. Of course their music is better. I can't even read music. I make beats out of a box. I play by ear abstractly.
Hip hop dudes, man. That's what we do, man.
And
not everybody had those opportunities. Now I grew up, of course, playing some instruments and stuff like that. But the thing about it is that doesn't mean I'm a virtuoso. So yeah, there's plenty of people better. But that's in everything in life, right? Like everything in life. Somebody's gonna be better than you at something.
But that's the kind of thing
you put the work.
The machines, the replication, you can't get unless you have a sentient robot who has grown and developed and transitioned through this growth and development enough to be here at this pivotal moment and then let it out.
Yeah, and
We ain't making robots in factories like that.
Well, when and if that day ever arrives, right?
Ain't gonna be anytime soon.
Well, that's just what I'm saying, Viral. Look, like you and me, we gonna be long gone, way of the dinosaur.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Even Little Tussin is gonna be the way of the dinosaur by the time that occurs. So
yeah,
you know.
yeah, it's not something to worry about. And the thing is, too, if we're doing things the right way, like I thought in that moment, I thought that was the moment between Lil Tussin and myself, me letting him know the reason why it is not offensive for him to say that my music is not nearly as good as theirs are. And but the real moment, the real aha moment came from that picture. And I was able to dictate it. I was able to snap it. Now,
best kind of memory.
Yo, but check this out. This is that AI shit. This is that AI shit. How could that picture?
Look who entered the set, bro.
Jet. Welcome. That moment, that AI. How could it ever, in that picture, even you could see the love in his eyes. You could see the way he's looking at you. You could see in his face. But you can't feel that feeling that he's feeling. You can't feel that feeling that I'm feeling looking at him. And you can't feel even close to what this moment means to the two of us, even me just putting the shit on Instagram.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Like, you know what I mean? That's like nothing beats live performance. Nothing beats the experience. Not only because we as like, let's say as an audience member, right? We're enjoying and we're taking in the experience, right? Of the performance. But also guess what also is happening that you know, AI is not going to capture, technology is not going to capture. Just imagine what the performers feel like as they give it to us.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? So this is not just a one-way thing going on where you're sitting in the audience and getting, you know, you're hearing it.
It's reciprocal.
And you're experiencing it. You're getting right, exactly. They're feeding off of you too, and they're giving you something.
Yeah, and putting a robot in that shoes is like bouncing that emotional essence off of a brick wall. You're not getting that reciprocal because they would just take it in and compute it up here and figure out how to make future calculations. And by the time it would be time for them to reciprocate, the moment's over. Because even if they get fast and you got this robot standing here like,
no doubt,
it still is going to be such a long time before we even get a moment like that to even be talked about as something that exists. So if we're that far away from it, I think us on a technological standpoint from the guys who are making the sauce, you know, the guys who are in the background doing what we need to do and, you know, taking it up a notch, you know, I don't think we have anything to worry about. And if we're the ones dictating how this AI is being driven, then we actually get to write the history books and kind of set the stage for the future in where this AI is going to go. And, you know, technologically speaking, you know, other than making a complete organic technological hybrid, it's not going to happen. You know,
not for a long time.
We're going to be gaining
we got some
jobs,
time before it has an opportunity to get smart.
Yeah.
Sentience is a while away. So, you know, whatever.
I've been to dubstep shows where it's more human than ever. Ironic. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like I said, we don't have anything to fear of the technology now. Like really the current version that we have, just to touch back on it again. Keep in mind the versions of AI that we're using here in the public space. Man, it's a video game and it's a social media platform engine designed to keep you engaged. So those companies that run these AI models, they are gaining all kinds of psychological information off of us, all kinds of data points, behavioral models, all kinds of things so they can develop their AI further. And they make us pay for it to give that to them.
Yeah.
So
So we're essentially
there it is.
paying them to curate a future interaction with
Yeah, and a version of us.
a version of us.
A version
You
of
know,
us.
and what's going to be that point to where we realize kind of that thing on Seinfeld, you know, when you're with somebody that's like you and you're like, wait a minute, I don't like
Yeah.
myself. I make myself fucking miserable here. Like
You're like,
when
what
it comes
is
to that
going
point to
on
where,
here? Yeah.
you know, you're going to have all these people with emotional problems that fucking hate themselves, and they're going to be like, oh yeah, you know, this is not what I want. I don't want something closer to myself. You know, I'm trying to run from my problems, not take on AI, you know, and create a whole pseudo existence and all that other stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, Scrabble bees. Yeah, you're good, man. You're good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. AI, it's not even qualified, though, to be honest with you, to do any judgment of anyone's character.
Yeah, and I think
You know?
living in it's not really a fear-based system or anything like that. It's just we have these natural inclinations to gravitate towards this doom end of days. You know, we did it with
Right.
Y2K.
The whole
You know,
dystopian
it's been happening with the second
world.
coming of Christ for freaking, you know, several millennia now, you know, and that's, you know, been going on too. And it's just like, yeah, you know, we have these moments and we have these things that we share. And one of the things that we share more than anybody is our paranoia, you know,
Yeah,
especially in
definitely.
America. We're a paranoid species, and
The
Americans, you
propaganda
know,
machine is running wild.
and that's what I was going to follow
The
up with here.
narrative.
You know,
The narrative.
there has been a narrative dictated for us. There's being a narrative dictated for us, and there will be a narrative dictated for us as well. And when it comes to the kind of things that are in the industry that do what they do and move the way that they do, it is mostly a narrative-based economy that is driven by somebody who wants to sell you something. So if you just find the heart of what you're being sold, I think that kind of gets you in a position to, you know, consider the more human elements to where you don't immerse yourself and become like Joaquin Phoenix and shit like that on Her, to where you know, fall in love with your AI and all that other stuff, which is already happening. But you know
Oh,
what?
yeah, for sure.
We got people marrying their horse, you know what I mean? So like, I
Yeah.
mean, that's the thing. There's
Marrying
always
horses,
going
marrying
to be,
cars.
yeah, people are
Crazy.
weird and do weird shit. And, you know, AI is not mutually exclusive to that. So it's not like there's going to be anything out there to where it's like, oh, well, AI is this special thing that, no, we make the AI what it is. So it being just a reflection of our best and our worst. As far as the music goes, it's like a reflection of the best spiritually, but the worst humanity. Like society doesn't respect music the way that we feel about it, and don't respect us in the way that we feel about it, because they don't get to feel like that the way that we feel
Oh,
about
yeah.
it. So they're
It's so
highly
subjective.
jealous of it. And, you know, so there's
Yeah.
all this fuckery. It's kind of like the stuff that we talked about last week, and you know, zeitgeist shit. But like, that's the layer cake in which we live. You know, it's just average living, and it's always a dangerous game to live in a fear-based economy that is driven by commerce. And I just don't think that we are there yet to need to worry about that from a standpoint of creating something so universally abstract like
Yeah,
music.
just it's time to get rid of the fear altogether, because you know, fear is an acronym. It's false evidence appearing real, everybody. So just
Yeah.
let it
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Let go of your fears.
And you know what? I would
Nothing to be afraid of.
I would also
Life is just lifing.
cap that off by saying, keep your AI mouth
Yeah,
out of our mastering.
Keep your AI
Keep
mouth
your AI out of goddamn mouth of our music.
Out
You
of
know,
my
you guys know
mastering
what I was
session.
trying to say there, but yeah, crazy. Oh, perfect timing. Niles, welcome. I think it's important to remember what we call AI is not artificial intelligence. It's machine learning. ChatGPT has no idea what it's saying. Wait,
I
that
mean-
is a great comment to leave it on,
Yeah.
because, like, seriously, it's just like what I was saying. It's just like what we were saying here. Like, the AI is only a reflection of ourselves and what we feed it.
That's it.
And if we're going to
It's a
pay it
mirror.
and we're going to feed it commands, and I know people are sitting there at detriment, like feeding it negative commands and trying to, stress out the system and all the other stuff. Who cares? Let them do
Exactly.
that and have their playground and do. There's people out here that are, killing bugs and putting them together. You know what I mean? Putting them back together. People do some weird things into some weird situations over here, and AI is just another thing for people to play with and do their Frankenstein thing with it when it comes down. I like all music, bad or not. You guys,
Yeah, Niles, we're ways
appreciate
away
you.
from it all, man. I like your comments because,
Yeah,
man, it's the industry I work in and have worked in for like a very long time now.
yeah.
And yeah, there's right now the stuff we're seeing, nothing to be afraid of. It just it's just a lot of crazy stories on the news, and there's a lot of people hitting the panic button, and I'm not sure why they're doing it. Maybe it's just to
Fear,
make money.
propaganda.
I don't know. Maybe they're just making money off of it. The fear.
When
But
you
yeah,
see, a group of people that are all taking advantage of like the this
yeah,
whole
fear
realm,
sells.
and like the fear does sell. Especially when you're in an economy like this. It's rough times, but when you see these guys that are captains of industry out here moving the way that they are moving the way that they are for a very specific reason. And, if us have-nots are over here doing what we need to do, then, we don't need to concern ourselves with their crap. And other than just being aware and not fully immersing ourselves, I don't think anybody involved in even attempting audio production should be surrendering themselves to AI mastering or any
Agreed.
kind of other
Agreed.
music
Agreed. Yeah,
creation when it comes down
don't
to
rob
it.
yourself of the experience of learning.
Yeah.
Like
The
stay
joy.
curious. Stay curious, keep learning, keep pushing, and I mean keep developing your ear, man, because that's the whole joy of it.
Yeah.
There's joy in doing all the stuff we do, guys, right? So
Yeah, and
yeah,
whatever one thing you take away, it's just
don't
like
give that
everything
away.
else that you take away, when you got to add stuff into it, it's just like, what are you taking away? You're taking away the journey. You're taking away the life experience that would make the AI smart. So like, if you really want to get that deep into it, if you're going to leave the dictation up to the AI, you are essentially making the AI dumber by feeding it its own commands, and then it's eating its own tail. So you
Yeah,
don't want it to
yeah,
live in
and you
its own
can, yeah,
ecosystem other than, providing you with some help here and there, getting some things done, like if you need a secretary or something like that to dictates. But yeah, we'll be revisiting this conversation again
definitely,
soon,
because it's
I'm
going to develop.
sure. Yeah, for sure. It definitely is going
So,
to
so you
develop.
guys know, like after this book that I'm gonna have out in a couple of weeks, like I said, it's a gigantic question mark, the book itself. And then the follow-up book that's going to come many years later, it's literally just me waiting to see where all this is going.
Yeah.
And we'll have another one for that. But it's going to be interesting. And I'm looking forward to this ride. Viral and I, we got a lot of stuff that we're working on, things that we want to do. And we can guarantee you most of it has nothing to do with AI being involved in our music.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, so
yeah.
I think we pretty much said what we need to say at current
I think so
moment when
too.
it comes
I
to
think we have. I think we have.
So again,
We go.
appreciate you guys coming through. These are always interesting. We are already on episode 10. You know what that means?
Really?
10 weeks. 10 weeks
That's
we've been doing
crazy,
this.
man.
You know how long 10 weeks is in time? Before you know it, we're going to be looking at a year and we're like, what the hell? It's been a year? Yeah, we've been doing it
it's
for that
crazy,
long,
man.
But
Are you serious though? We 10 episodes?
10 episodes.
Deep down already?
This is
Oh, man,
episode
that's
10.
crazy.
Episode 10, and it feels like we're on episode 4 or 5.
Wow.
And these kind of fall into the natural order of the way that the conversation goes. So we don't really find out ahead of time. I knew at the end of last week that we wanted to talk about AI because we wanted to talk about it before, and we had to address a few things that kind of
Yeah.
went
And it was
through
and it's perfect timing actually, guys, because like I said, I also was wanting to wait to talk about it until the book was ready too, because I wanted you guys to have something when it comes out. So there's some follow up to kind of understanding it a little bit, and again, the book itself goes into it, in a much deeper fashion about the the technology and the possibilities of what it could or may not be or whatever, and yeah, and I just thought it would lend more interest to the conversation too. So like, we definitely waiting was perfect.
Yeah, and you make plans. The universe don't care about your plans. We were actually worried today because there's a bunch of wind and a heavy storm going on right now, but we were good. We were able to set up. Everything's all good. No harm, no foul.
Exactly.
So cool.
Exactly.
Yeah. We'll be back next week, same
Yes,
time,
indeed.
3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will not be stepping on the toes from across the pond because they had their daylight savings time. So hooray for that.
Appreciate you guys.
So now we're all
Appreciate you,
back
brother.
in the consistency of things. As far as next for what we got going on, we might go live again today with the MPC because
Hey.
and Son might join me on that one too because he's on the West Coast too.
Because y'all can see, right? You look over there, y'all see, there go that mini freak, and there go that X.
Yeah,
That X
finally,
right there. Let's go.
finally was able to put my expansions into the MPC, and I'm like, oh, so I was only using the two.
We got
The two
and
expansions coming through.
you know how we do, y'all. You know how we do. We got and me and Bob, we got beats. Let's go. You know what I'm saying?
Word. It's like the
So we can do it all. It don't matter. We got the hip hop, we got the R&B, we got, so let's we can make whatever.
yeah, and when is
we
an
just doing it
AI
fun.
going to just pop up in the middle of a conversation and pull out their beat machine and start playing a beat? You know what I mean? Like these abstract
Exactly.
things that we do
Exactly.
to say, hey, just out of nowhere. Yeah, we're so far away from the reality of AI becoming a problem for the music industry. It's just a problem for the guys at
Facts.
the top who are running the numbers, who are trying to do all these things with their companies and stuff like that. But when it comes to the actual music being made, it's not going to be there. It's not going to be there for quite some time. And if anything, we should embrace the fact that people are embracing it because it's just making it to a point to where we're all going to get more work because we're
Definitely.
becoming a commodity that's more sought
Definitely.
after.
Like, yeah,
than
it's a
before.
scarcity now for people like us who really
To have
do
original
like
music.
boom bap and real music and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And hey, George, man, I'm gonna get on you, my brother New Yorker. Yo, send me an email, man, so I can get in touch with you, man, because and then we could exchange digits, man. I'm gonna actually call you, brother, and we're gonna chop it up, man, because we got stuff to talk about, especially about this music. So let's get that connect going, brother. All right.
Word. Make sure you guys leave a
Love
like
you
on the way
guys.
out. Subscribe if you're not, or just keep lurking if that's what you're doing. Yeah, we love having
Word.
these
Blessings to
discussions and love you
everybody.
guys being here. So appreciate you guys for sure.
And yes, sir. Let me say this, Viral. Like, hey, look, for everybody who's active or those who are lurking, and whether you love us or don't like us at all, and you lurking, I want you to know we praying for you, we lifting you up. We love you too, even if you don't love us, and we pray and hope that that you have good health, long life, success, that your families and children are all blessed and healthy and well, and take care of yourselves. And we wish you nothing but the greatest success and love.
Well said.
Peace from us.
Love you guys.
Oh,
Take care,
you know what I'm
everybody.
saying?
See you guys
Word
next
up.
week.
Peace
Appreciate
out,
y'all.
guys. Later.